Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Sportschat with DJ Matt. I'm DJ Matt, and as always, I have DJ Echo with me. Go! All right. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Sportschat with DJ Matt1. Like, subscribe, comments here on the YouTubes. So before we get into our second part of our rankings of quarterbacks, breaking news that happened yesterday or the day before, whenever it happened. It seemed like yesterday, but I think it was Monday maybe. I don't remember. Point is, Patrick Mahomes has signed a 10-year deal, basically $500 million to be a Chief, basically for life. He basically signed his life away to the Chiefs. But he's worth every penny, so there you go.
Well, it's historic. He's already, since he's going to be getting all this money, he's already the most paid quarterback over the history of the NFL career-wise. So no athlete in the NFL has made more money than Patrick Mahomes has. And this will be his third year starting. So Eli Manning hasn't made more over his career. Peyton Manning hasn't made more over his career. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Big Ben, those were the old top five career earning. Of course, that doesn't count any deals outside of the NFL. This is strictly contract based from the NFL. And Patrick Mahomes has already out earned all of them. 10 years.
Well, 12 years technically, because he still has the 2 years left on his original deal. So 12-year deal, basically.
So, whenever Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill want money, sorry, we got Patrick Mahomes. That's basically
Well, no, that's not necessarily true because the way the deal works out, when it's like, because Patrick Mahomes was talking, I guess, with the Kansas City reporters yesterday, I think, or something, and it was like the way the deal works is like the first couple of years is not going to be like $30 million he's making. Like he's still, I think his rookie deal is still, I think, in place, still like those the year amounts. I think by that time they get to the contract, this still gonna be it's still gonna be a little bit of money for the pay to other people. So like only down the road, like 7 years from now, possibly, you might have trouble paying some guys. But for the first maybe 4 or 5 years of this deal or so, it's possible they can still pay some of these other guys and maybe get some other people to come in. And the one thing about Kansas City that's really impressive that no one talks about is that they're a team that drafts really well. They draft well. So if they can get talent through the draft and not so much maybe free agents coming in, if they can build through the draft. Like if Edward Clyde-Helaire was like the best running back in that draft class, that's pretty good. Like Kansas City has a running back now that's on a rookie deal for the next 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So through the draft, they can continue to draft well. I don't think it's going to matter that much. They'll be a good team, I think, throughout. So good job, Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, good to him. Good job to him.
All right. Let's switch gears a little bit because we're going to get to Patrick later on in the show, obviously, but we'll move on a little bit. So on this show, we don't really spend too much on the big picture stuff in terms of social stuff, you know what I mean? Because it just feels weird to talk about. But we have to mention it here because of the name change for the Washington Redskins, which Redskins is a slur for Native Americans. So they should have changed their name years ago, but now they're being basically forced to change it because like companies are backing out on them, sponsors are backing out, so they're losing money if they don't change the name. So some names that have been circling around for this team now has been like the Red Tails, which I really find impressive, or the Warriors. I saw one with the Warriors maybe, and there was another name I forgot what it was, but it was kind of cool. But what do you think on that whole situation?
I mean, do you really want to know what I think on this whole situation or not? Because that's the big question.
Well, I mean, I think I honestly, of all the team names, it's one of the names I like the least. Not because of like being a racial slur for Native Americans, but like just in general, I just don't like the name that much as other names. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with them changing the name.
And this is one thing that I will say about it. I find myself caring less than if it was a team like the Chiefs that they were forcing to change their name, because right now they're on top of like the football sports world, and the Redskins, if anything, are probably like at the bottom. So in terms of that, I probably don't really care. But in terms of them changing their name, I mean, considering a few years back they asked some Native Americans how they felt about the name, and from that survey, 9 out of 10, accepted the name, the Washington Redskins. That's all I'll say on the matter.
Yeah.
If they want to change the Red Tails, the Warriors, whatever, I would be fine. Or even if they went a whole nother route, away from the Indian look, I would also be okay with that.
Right.
But
I was watching Pat McAfee, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and he was coming up with some names. And he was saying, like, instead of just having Washington in the front of the name, why don't you just put DC, like DC something? He said that might sound cooler. Like, I think a name they proposed, like the DC Admirals. I was like, that's kind of a cool name, DC Admirals. And also, like, he kind of went the soccer route, too. There was, like, DCFC, like Washington, D.C. Football Club, kind of like soccer, how they do. But, like, LAFC and stuff. That'd be too confusing, though, with soccer.
That doesn't fit the sport of football.
No.
American football, at least.
The DC Admirals, I would not be mad at that name. That's a cool name. And another thing, too, I want him to change the color scheme. I don't want him to keep the red and yellow. I don't like that too much. It's too, I don't know. I just don't like it.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think that they should just abandon the whole Indian look, because I feel like, honestly, it would just be better just to abandon that whole thing. Though it really sucks, because, like, Washington Redskins have definitely – is not one of the newer teams, like the Jaguars or the Baltimore Ravens or, stuff like that. So I think it would be nice to just – it sucks, but, like, right now it just makes sense to get something fresh and new, If they want to go something with the whole, we're DC, we're the nation's capital, they can go with that, or maybe just something random, whatever it may be. It's tough, but
my only suggestion for them is don't do a fan vote, because the last time a fan vote happened, we ended up with the baby cakes. I don't want to do no fan vote.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes down to it, like I said, I honestly, at the end of the day, I care much less than if it was like the Patriots or the Chiefs that were getting their name forced to change, because, I mean, with all due respect to any Redskins fans, I mean, your team kind of sucks. So I don't know what to tell you.
Point, too. Like, Stephen A. brought that up too on First Take. He was like, "Well, your team been sucking the last like 5 or 6 years. So like, why not just change them? Like, start over in a way. You know what I mean? Kind of rebirth. That way maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm on that level. I'm definitely cool with it. I mean, I like I'm a big fan of the old fashioned teams. I get nostalgia. I get that type of stuff. But like, I'm cool with them people changing names of teams. It makes it more interesting. It's like, okay, I wish teams would move more. Like, you know what I mean? I think it'd be interesting to see other markets.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, but like then it would be a lot harder for a certain fan base to get attached to a city because to a team, because it's like, let's say, like New Orleans, if like they would move every so often, so like the Saints would move, and then we would get like the Falcons.
No, the Saints need to stay. Everyone else can move.
Oh my God. I know, but I'm just saying, like, how would you feel, for instance, like if you were a fan of the Redskins and the Redskins moved out, and then like the Giants came to DC, and then it's like, okay, well, who,
The DC Giants, not a bad name.
But
anyway, so I'm okay with them changing the name. I mean, like I really don't care. Like with you, it doesn't affect me, I guess. But I think it's time to change the name. If any team name is gonna change their name, it'd be them. Honestly, I think they have the worst name in the league anyway. It's just.
Yeah, and of course, I care more if A, I was a Redskins fan, or B, the Redskins were like the top team in the league. Then I would care. But like,
yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, let's get to the list. So we're unveiling our top 16 quarterbacks in the league for this upcoming season. Want to do like last week, evens and odds, or you want to switch it up?
Yeah, I'll just take evens again. You can have odds.
Okay.
Quick thing before we get into this. Yesterday, if you did not see it, the list from last week is posted on the Instagram, so that you can check all the people from 33 to 17. You can see all of those names. I don't know when you're going to post these, but these will also be posted.
I waited a week for the last list, so I'm going to wait a week. That way people can watch the video. I don't want people to have the list. They don't watch the video. It's just the list already on the YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, anyway, the list is there. It was posted yesterday. So.
It's posted. So let's get into it. It's number 16. Here we go.
Number 16, a guy some people may think we have a little low, but we do have reasoning for this, and that is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G, nickname omitted. Um, so why is Jimmy G so low? And considering that he just led the 49ers to the Super Bowl, didn't close it out, but just led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So why is he so low for us? Well, for me personally, it's because the 49ers, in my opinion, got to the Super Bowl because of their defense and because of the running game. I think if you had changed who the quarterback was in terms of someone who had the same skill level as Jimmy G, I still think that they would have had the same productivity in terms as a team. Now, don't get me wrong. Jimmy G, I think, is a really good quarterback. But in terms of being the guy for the 49ers, I don't think he is necessarily the guy right now, especially since Kyle Shanahan does not seem to want to put any trust into Jimmy G in terms of managing the game. That's just where I am on him.
No, I think I think everyone's on the same page with Jimmy G. I think in terms of that, and when it's time for him to sling the ball around, he can definitely make plays with his arm. But the way the 49ers were winning their playoff games was run game, like you said. Like they had the 3 running backs. Like what was that? Was it Mostert that had that was just putting up monster numbers in those playoff games before the Super Bowl? So the run game is what they're based around. They have good receiving talent. Obviously, George Kittle is probably the best tight end in the league, or one of the best at least, top 3 definitely. So they have targets for Jimmy G to throw to. And they drafted Brandon Ayuk in the draft. He seems to be a really good wide receiver, so he's gonna be an interesting prospect. But yeah. So Jimmy G definitely, I think, is one of those guys that is definitely middle tier. Like he's definitely right in the middle, which is where he's at. So, all right. Well, so Chris Sims, speaking of the devil, Chris Sims, he ranked Jimmy G 20th in the NFL. So that's not too far off. I guess we're a little more high on Jimmy G than he is, but that's where he has him. So number 15. Okay, my guy. All right, Phillip Rivers, Indianapolis Colts, number 15. Look, I know last season was pretty much a down year for him because of the interceptions and stuff like that. The Chargers were just a disappointing team last year in general. The O-line was just not good, and that was Melvin Gordon was holding out half the season. So it was just, and they're the same division as Mahomes and so the Chargers were kind of set up to fail, I think, and they were a little too hyped, I think, last year. But Phillip Rivers, given the right amount of talents and O-lineman, I think he'd still be a really good quarterback in this league. And he has a weird throwing motion, but he's still formidable. I think the Colts are the perfect team to have him because I think they'll be a run team because of they had Marlon Mack and they drafted Jonathan Taylor. So they're going to be a heavy run team, especially with that O-line. So it's going to open up the pass game for Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers is going to have a really good year. I think he's going to throw for probably about 4,000 yards, and I think the interceptions will go down. I think he's a little slept on right now, just a little bit.
Yeah, I think Phillip Rivers is one of those guys who's always been really good, but has always, in eyes of some, especially mine, underachieved in terms of playoff performance and Super Bowl, especially whenever the Chargers had Daniel Tomlinson and Antonio Gates. In fact, I don't know what year it was. I think it was the late 2000s, though. They had the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense, and they didn't even make the playoff.
That's true, yeah.
So I think Phillip Rivers is one of those guys who's he's really good, but in terms of getting it done on the big stage, he just doesn't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. And I mean, it's going to a system. The biggest thing for new quarterbacks in different systems this year is there's no OTAs, there's really no off-season workouts to where you get acclimated with your teammates in the playbook. So, but Phillip Rivers has been in Frank Reich's system before in San Diego and in LA. So he's very familiar. The cadences are probably very similar. So I think he's gonna be able to step in and probably be the best out of all the quarterbacks in terms of the best situation because he knows the offense already. You know what I mean? He's set up the best in that regard.
Right. I think Tom Brady, it's they have enough experience to where that they can very quickly learn an offense as opposed to some of these newer guys,
Right. And T.Y. Hilton's one of the most slept on receivers ever. He's really good. They call him the ghost for a reason. He's good. He just got hurt.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever he's healthy, that is, he does very well. I had him on fantasy, and whenever he played, good numbers. But that's the big problem with T.Y. is he's not healthy all the time.
Yeah, but for this season, I mean, what cornerback in the AFC South are you scared of? right now. There's no really any good like cornerbacks. So I think receivers gonna have a big year in the AFC South because I don't see
Yeah.
any cornerbacks that I'm scared of. You know what I mean?
The only cornerback that I could have said was whenever Jalen Ramsey was still part of Jacksonville, but he's out now. So
And Logan Ryan, but he's free agent. We don't know where he's gonna sign.
exactly, yeah. So I'm not, in terms of for wide receivers in the AFC South, it's like, oh.
Yeah, so Phillip Rivers was ranked 17th on Chris Sims' list, which is not too far off. That's okay. So number 14.
Number 14, this guy was originally not in this list, but we had to add him in lieu of recent signings, and that is Cam Newton, Superman himself, Cam Newton. Now, I've always thought that Cam Newton was a really good quarterback, no matter how much I disliked him. That was never a factor, He always, whenever he came down to New Orleans or we went to Carolina, it was always a good game, and Cam Newton was usually one of the reasons why it was such a good game. Very much a Michael Vick-esque in the terms of he's not afraid to get hit. Michael Vick was never a guy that was afraid to get hit. Most guys you'll see, they'll run out of bounds or they'll slide before they risk getting hit. But Cam Newton is one of those big-bodied guys that doesn't have a problem with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's had his issues over his career with injuries. I think what Cam Newton's ranking in terms of quarterbacks is going to come down to is what quarterback the Patriots are getting. Are they getting last year's Cam Newton, or are they getting something closer to the 2015 MVP Cam Newton? Because if they get closer to that, I think that he could definitely be higher on this list. But
yeah,
but
the thing though this season is because we don't know who's starting in the league, right? We're assuming Cam Newton will end up starting, but what I'm hearing is very mixed. It's like people are saying the Patriots love Jarrett Stidham, they love him. But if you love him, why are you bringing in Cam Newton? You know what I'm saying? It's so much mixed messaging from the Patriots right now, and I'm assuming they're going to have some type of quarterback competition. And if that's what's going to happen, I think Cam Newton should win it because I just think he's better than Jarrett Stidham because I don't know what Jarrett Stidham is, which is an issue. But it depends what the Patriots end up doing. If they split reps, I mean, Cam Newton's numbers are not going to be the same like his MVP season because he's splitting reps. He's not going to have the same amount of opportunities as he normally would have if he was just a playing starter. So he's one of those guys that are up in the air, really, what he's going to be next season and what he's going to do. Because it depends on what the Patriots decide to do.
And this is one of my things with that is I think the fact that they signed him to a one-year deal just shows that, like, I think that he is going to start and play this season because you're not going to bring a guy like Cam Newton in without telling him, hey, you're going to start. Because there's no way that the Patriots called Cam Newton and was like, okay, we're going to sign you to a one-year deal and you're going to play backup to Jarrett Stidham. Like, there's no way that actually happened. Maybe I can see a quarterback competition, but like you said, if a quarterback competition happens, I can fully see Cam Newton winning that. And I honestly think that Cam Newton should be the starter for this season, Yeah.
Like, if the Patriots decide just for 1 year, Cam Newton's a starter, then you let Cam Newton leave in free agency, then you play Jarrett Stidham, okay, that's fair. But I think if you have Cam Newton on your roster, you don't bring Cam Newton in for him to sit on the bench. Like, he hasn't played in like a year, right? And he's been rehabbing, he's been working out. You've seen his videos. Like, he looks like he's ready to go. Like, he looks like old Cam Newton to me. Like, he looks ready to. Like, I mean, I'd trust him. I'll put him out there. I mean,
yeah.
So, all right. So, see, Chris Sims has him at number 10, which at the time I was like, that's kind of stupid. He's not even in the league at that point. But now that he's back in the league, I can see that. I mean, that's not that crazy now, looking back. But that's where Chris Sims has him. So, number 13, a guy who is vastly underrated, Matthew Stafford from Detroit Lions. He's been the victim of not having a good team around him most of the time. Like he got hurt last year. So the numbers he had, like, the Lions were winning with him before he got hurt. And then after he got hurt, it went downhill. I mean, I remember the days with Megatron, dude. Him and Megatron, one of the best duos in the league, hands down. And Kerryon Johnson's a really good running back. They drafted what's that cornerback they drafted that was really good? I forgot his name. But he's so the Lions are really gonna focus on Matt Patricia though. Matt Patricia, at least this is a prove-it season for Matt Patricia and that coaching staff. Because if not, I can see Matt Patricia leaving next season or being fired, I guess. But Matthew Stafford is a vastly underrated quarterback. I love Matthew Stafford. He's been one of the more consistent quarterbacks. When he's healthy, he puts up numbers. It's just the team's not good enough around him for him to win, which is a shame because he's really good. Really good.
Yeah, I agree. And Matthew Stafford, again, like Phillip Rivers, though a lot less than Phillip Rivers, has always been one of those guys that has always put up good stats, but whenever it comes time to playoffs, he's always underperformed, if he's even gotten to the playoffs. Because especially you gotta remember that he was playing in a division with the Green Bay Packers. You know, he plays in a division with the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers and such, and then the Vikings have kind of emerged as of recently, and even the Bears for a couple seasons. So it's been really hard for the Detroit Lions to kind of, you know, get a playoff spot. And even when they did, you know, they would get out easily. Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, I think is really well, and I think the 3 or 4 games that he played, you know, last season, you know, he was showing some flashes like he could be an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
You know, he was making throws, and even if you go on YouTube, they I think they have a compilation of Matthew Stafford throws that if Patrick Mahomes made, the media would be talking about it because it's Matthew Stafford on the Lions. Somebody talks about it. And Matthew Stafford is one of those guys that, you know, I've always been pretty high on. Detroit Lions are – I think the Detroit Lions are much more the team that, like, you just can't hate because you just feel bad for them more than the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think if any quarterback, I think, would have done well in a different situation, like a guy that needed to leave, I think Matthew Stafford should have been one of those quarterbacks that should have gotten out of Detroit. I think if you put Matthew Stafford anywhere else, like you put Matthew Stafford, if you put him on the Titans, I think the Titans are infinitely probably the best team in that AFC South division. If you put him on the Titans, or even if he went to Indy, that'd be a great spot for him to play. Or San Francisco would have been a cool spot. You know what I mean? If you put him in a different spot, I feel like New England, Matthew Stafford in New England, that'd be very interesting. I think be really good. Or even Washington, or, you know, some of these teams that, you know, or need quarterback. I think he's one of those guys that would do good in a different situation, honestly, because he's good.
Yeah, but what seems to be the trend with Lions players is that they're very loyal, so they don't want to leave the team, and then they just get tired of losing all the time, so they just retire.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen with Matthew Stafford. I don't see him going to a new team, but I think if any player needed to, it'd be him, because I think he could have possibly won a Super Bowl with another team. I think he's a quarterback in the right situation. I really do. It's a shame they wasted his career. It's a sad. All right, let's get to Chris Sims has him at 9. Chris Sims has him at 9. That's fair. That's very fair. So let's get to number 12.
Number 12, I guess I'm getting all of the NFC South guys. That would be quarterback of the Falcons, Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan, again, I've always thought is a pretty good quarterback, especially with a guy like Julio Jones throwing to. Throwing to a guy like Julio Jones will make it so much easier on you as a quarterback. But even so, whenever he had Roddy White throwing to that, he was still a good wide receiver. Roddy White is one of those guys that not a lot of people remember, but
I remember. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing too. I was thinking Roddy White.
So I guess of course Matt Ryan has this stigmatism, you know, blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
That wasn't.
But, you know, if you look at Matt Ryan's resume, I know. But I mean, if you look at Matt Ryan's resume, I mean, he's got an MVP. He's going to a Super Bowl. He had that really good. What did they go, like 14-2 that season that they went to the Super Bowl? I think it was. They went like 14-2. They're always contenders, at least at the beginning of the season, for the NFC South. But I mean, who isn't always contenders outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the NFC South title? I mean, now this year that's probably going to be different. But Matt Ryan, and you see a lot of like same thing with Matthew Stafford, very good pocket quarterback. And I think the thing is that it seems like that's starting to get faded out.
Yeah.
For NFL as pocket quarterbacks, but still a lot of the top guys, you know, are pocket quarterbacks. It's just right now it seems like a lot of the new quarterbacks coming in, you've got to be able to roll out. You've got to be able to run, But Matthew Stafford still gets it done in Atlanta with the Falcons.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, it's like being in the NFC South, we hate him, but we still respect him at the same time. You know what I mean? Like what Cam Newton, like you hate him, but you respect him because he's good. So Matt Ryan.
Cam Newton.
But like Matt Ryan, I mean, I don't blame that Super Bowl loss really on him. That's mostly the full team's fault. The defense just couldn't stop New England, and coaching staff I think just making bad decisions. And Matt Ryan, I'm not saying Matt Ryan is not free of any blame, but I don't put it all on him. You can't just put it all on the quarterback. But yeah, Matt Ryan. I mean, he's like I said, he had Tony Gonzalez, he had Roddy White, Julio Jones. They had Mohamed Sanu, and he went to New England. And he had Calvin Ridley, I believe, too.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, so he's always had some pretty decent weapons around him. And now with Todd Gurley, I mean, if you think about what Todd Gurley did for Jared Goff, if he could do the same in Atlanta, what he did for Jared Goff in L.A., it opens up the offense. So Matt Ryan could potentially have a really, really good year this year. And Falcons might end up being a playoff team. They could sneak in. I think they're good enough, honestly.
Yeah.
So Matt Ryan for Chris Sims, he's number 7 on Chris Sims' list. Number 7. So the next guy on the list, number 11, is a guy that you really like, and I really like. And we're gonna put him in the top 10, but some other guys we just felt like he's only been in the league for 1 year, so we can't get too excited. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals. His ceiling is really, really high. I think Arizona's gonna be a great team this year. I'm really excited for Arizona because I am somewhat of a Cardinals fan. Like I don't root for them all the time, but like I like them a little bit. You know what I mean?
I'll best believe I'll be rooting for them this year.
Yeah,
I've hopped on the bandwagon. I'm hopped on it.
And I mean Cliff Kingsbury. I think Cliff Kingsbury was hired as the head coach last season. There was a lot of skepticism about his college offense in the NFL, and I think for the most part it was not a bad offense. I mean Kyler Murray led it pretty well, and they had some good stats. Now you add DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I expect big year from Kyler Murray. Big year. I think he's going to be great. And he's easily the best quarterback out of that draft. Obviously, the jury's still out on Daniel Jones. We don't know yet. We're assuming he's going to have a solid season. Dwayne Haskins, But Kyler Murray, man, he's going to be the next guy, man. He's good. I'm really excited for him.
Yeah. Oh, yes. 100%. Kyler Murray is my dude. I really think that he's going to light it up. With DeAndre Hopkins. They got Kenyon Drake, I think, and he was lighting it up towards the end of the season with them. They re-signed him, so they got that. Plus the additions that they made to their defense. I'm excited for this this Arizona Cardinal team, and I'm especially excited to see what Kyler Murray can do in his second year. I think that unlike Baker Mayfield, I think that Kyler Murray is going to take a step forward in his sophomore year instead of a step back. And I think at the end,
Jackson, like a Mahomes and Jackson, that kind of stuff.
I really think that at the end of the year, we could be potentially having discussions about whether or not Kyler Murray is a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't know if he will be, but I think depending on how this season goes, he can definitely be in that conversation. I think hands down, if he even does just as good as he did last year, if not a slightly better, he's going to be in the top 10. And, if he does really good, I think that he can be in that top 5 quarterback in the league conversation.
Oh, for sure. Because, these other guys, on this list that we have, some of them have been in the league for a while. Like, at least 4 of them have been in the league over 10 years. You know what I mean? So, those guys are starting to wane out. These new guys are coming up. Kyler Murray is definitely one of those guys that I can definitely see being a top 5 quarterback down the line. Like, he has that type of potential. Like, it's unreal. I love Kyler Murray. I really do. And it was crazy because, like, he actually had a quiet season. Like, no one was really talking about him like they normally would because Arizona wasn't really playing that well, but it wasn't because of Kyler Murray. You know what I mean? He had a sneaky good season and he won Offensive Rookie of the Year as he should have because he's good, really good. Yeah. Chris Sims has him at 12, which is 1 spot lower than us. I think that's fair. That's pretty good. So let's get to number 10.
We've got the man himself, a guy you're really high on. I'm not as high on, but we came to agreement with this guy. We put him at 10. That is Big Ben Roethlisberger. We got him at 10. Now, again, now he has always been an instrumental part to the success of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whenever he had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, plus that one season they had Juju as well, like that offense was rolling. And Big Ben, I like Big Ben because he's a pocket quarterback, but like he's one of those guys that you really gotta take him down to get him down because I've seen him avoid some sacks and some tackles a lot, and I think that he's a fun guy to watch now. Again, it stands to reason how Big Ben is going to come off of this injury that he just had this season. But I think if he can get back to his status, with Connor, with Smith-Schuster, I think that could be a really good offense. I think that Big Ben could be a big reason why that offense is going to be good.
Yeah, I mean he's probably the biggest quarterback in the league. He's up there. Like he's always been. That's why they call him Big Ben. He's just a big guy.
Boy.
He's not really he's not as mobile as Cam Newton. Like Cam Newton's a big guy, but he's mobile. Big Ben has never really been mobile, but he can move. I mean, he can scramble, but like he's not. Every quarterback can scramble to some capacity, but like he's not a guy that's going to give you 30-yard rushing down the field. Like he's not going to do that. But yeah, his arm talent is really good, and I mean, it's just he's been hurt, and I love James Conner. He's a good running back. After Le'Veon Bell, he emerged when Le'Veon Bell was holding out. He just said, "All right, I'll take the spot," and he performed really well, and he still does. And Smith-Schuster is the number one wide receiver. I like him a lot. Do they still have Vince McDonald? I think
so.
And they also have Ebron they have Eric Ebron this season too. So that's two good tight ends to throw the ball to. Eric Ebron is really good. He led the league, I think, 2 years ago in touchdown catches for tight ends or something.
Whenever he was on the Colts.
Yeah, so Eric Ebron's a really good target, big target to throw to. And defensively, I mean, obviously you have Minka, and you have T.J. Watt too, I believe, and Derek. That's both Watt brothers. They have Derek Watt and T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh. So, I mean,
all they need is J.J.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's a team that I'm really excited to see, and Big Ben, I think, is gonna. If they keep him upright and they keep him, from getting hit all the time, I think he will have a good season. I think Pittsburgh will be, and they were 7-9 last season without a quarterback. I mean,
they still almost made playoffs.
Like if they would have had the expanded playoff format last season, they would have been in. They would have been in. So they're a playoff team without Big Ben. So you add Big Ben to it. I mean, Big Ben to me is, he's great. He's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He's really good. But Chris Sims has him at 14, which I think is low. I mean, I think he's better than he has Kirk Cousins over Big Ben, which is dumb. So.
Yeah, pretty dumb.
Yeah. So. All right. So number 9 is a guy I'm really high on. I love this guy, Carson Wentz. I believe, did he win MVP that year that they went to the Super Bowl before he got hurt? No. Did he win MVP that year? Who won MVP that year? That was
candidate. He was a candidate, but he did not win the MVP.
But he was an MVP candidate. So so that season that Philadelphia went to the Super Bowl, I mean, they were 13-3, I believe. He got hurt, sadly, but I mean, he was big part of the reason why they were even in the Super Bowl. Like, I mean, he led them throughout most of that regular season. Nick Foles kind of just stepped in and did his thing. But Carson Wentz, when healthy, is really good. Really good. And last season, he didn't have really, any good wide receivers. And he still led them to the playoffs. Like, he carried that team to the playoffs. And he got hurt in that playoff game. They had to bring in one of the McCown brothers, I think. I think Josh McCown, they had to put in. But when healthy, he's a guy that can lead, even with subpar talent, he'll win you games. And I think he's one of the more consistent quarterbacks. As long as he's healthy, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. That's just the way I feel.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz can be a good quarterback. I think the problem is that he's very injury prone. And he's not necessarily injury prone in the sense that Cam Newton is injury prone. Because Cam Newton is injury prone because he'll hit you, like linebackers coming at him, instead of swerving out of bounds or sliding, he'll go for the hit. Carson Wentz just seems to have a problem with injuries, because this is almost all the seasons now that he's played. The first season that he played, he was the MVP candidate. Got hurt, but they were already in the playoffs. Next season, got hurt again. Nick Foles had to carry them a little bit more. And then last season got hurt in that playoff game. It's like, how reliant are you going to be on Carson Wentz? How confident are you that Carson Wentz can play a full season and go into the playoffs and potentially take you to a Super Bowl without getting hurt? Like, and that's where my mind's spaced out. Now, of course, if he's healthy the entire season, yeah, I'm with Carson Wentz. I think that he's really, really good. But I just don't know.
I think that's why they drafted Jalen Hurts, because I guess they're expecting now for him to get hurt at some point. So they're like, well, we need a backup. So why not get Jalen Hurts? So, which makes sense to me. But yeah, Carson Wentz. I mean, I really like him a lot. I really do. Like, every time I watch him play, he plays well. His only problem is staying healthy. That's the only knock against him I can really think of that's glaring, is him staying healthy. All right, so Chris Sims has him at 6. Not too far.
Which, considering the people that we have above him looking at this list, I think that is a little high for Carson Wentz.
Yeah. But he's among the best. He is among the best. It's just his health. So let's get to number 8. This might be
Number 8. Oh boy, I'm glad I got this one. So we got my favorite quarterback, your favorite quarterback, Tom Brady.
Oh man.
Now, why is Tom Brady at 8? Because, as I've said a lot of times, I think that Tom Brady is starting to take that step back. I don't think it's not even a thing. He's definitely not as good as he used to be. But he's still a really good quarterback. You look at last year with New England, didn't have a lot on that offense to help him out. Still went to the playoffs. I think they lost to the Titans because the Titans were just in the right place at the right time. They were heating up at the right time as well with Derrick Henry and that defense. However, he brought them to the playoffs. They were in that game till the end. Now, he's got this ridiculous wide receiving core. He's got a pretty good defense. Running back could use some help, but still, he's got Gronk back again. I don't think that Tom Brady deserves to be at 15 or 16 on this list at all.
Yeah, I think at 15, which is absurd.
Now, I don't think that Tom Brady just being on the Bucs instantly makes them a Super Bowl contender. Do I think that they're going to the playoffs? Yes. Do I think that the Saints are still going to win the NFC South? Yes. Do I think that Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl? I mean, it's possible.
They gotta get.
I don't think that Tom Brady being on the Buccaneers instantly makes them a Super Bowl contender, like in the way that the Chiefs are a Super Bowl contender, or in the way that the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender, or in the way that the Saints are a Super Bowl contender, or the 49ers. Maybe the 49ers a little bit less, but even the Seahawks are Super Bowl contenders. It's like you've got the upper tier of Super Bowl contenders and the lower tier of Super Bowl contenders. And if I had to say that they were Super Bowl contenders, I put them in the very lower tier of Super Bowl contenders. Like, could go, but I'm not betting on it.
Like, I would not be surprised at all if they did go to Super Bowl. I think that's the thing. Like, when they first signed, everyone was saying, oh, yeah, Buccaneers Super Bowl contenders right away. Me and you were on the same page of like, oh, yeah, they're going to be a good team. Because, Tom Brady's not going to make the mistakes that Jameis did. He's not going to turn the ball over as much. They're going to be a solid team. They're a 10-win team, at least. You know what I mean? So we can see that they're going to be a playoff team with Tom Brady. But everyone was already crowning them as champions, it seemed like. And I'm like, I don't know. But then they got Gronk back, which I'm like, well, maybe. I give them. They're borderline contender. They're borderline, But Tom Brady, I mean, like you said, has taken some steps back. Another thing too, you got is the weapons he had last season. I mean, yeah, he still brought him to the playoffs, but the weapons he had wasn't the best either. So if you give him better weapons, maybe he has, he does better. Maybe a better O line too than he had in the win. You know, and so it's gonna be interesting. I can see Tom Brady definitely playing really well, better than he did last season. I can see him being better than last season, but to call them Super Bowl winners already is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, so number 7, a guy that needs to be paid. And now that Mahomes got paid, he really wants to be paid. Dak Prescott.
Well, I really want to get paid close to that, but yeah, he still needs to get paid.
Yeah, Dak Prescott from the Dallas Cowboys. I really do like Dak. As much as I hate the Cowboys, I like some of the players. Like, I like Zeke. I like Dak. I don't mind rooting for the players. I hate the team, but I don't mind. Like, if Dak does good, I'm happy. You
I
know?
I think the thing with the Cowboys is it's more the fans and just the culture with the Cowboys than it is so much the Cowboys themselves.
And
Like
Jerry
I
Jones
think that
talks too much. I don't like Jerry Jones. He talks too much.
yeah.
That's probably why the main reason for me. I just don't like Jerry Jones. And they had Jason Garrett, who I hated, and now they have a real coach in there. So I expect big things from Dallas this year. To me, Dallas should be a Super Bowl contender. They're good enough to be a Super Bowl contender, but it's a matter of them doing it. The thing is, we don't trust the Cowboys because they haven't given us any reason to trust them in the last couple of years. You know what I mean? They always
Right.
peter out at the end, especially this past season where they had the talent to definitely make a playoff run, and they were losing.
Didn't.
They did, and they should have. But Dak Prescott had an amazing year last year, though. They didn't lose because of him. Like he was balling. Like I think he had 5,000 yards passing, I believe, right, or close to it. Like he had
Close to it, but I don't think he was at 5,000. I think he was at 4,000, mid 4.
Yeah, he had a great year, and he's a guy that if I was Jerry Jones or whoever the GM is over there, I would have been paid this guy. I'd give him pretty much whatever he wants. I mean, Dak is your guy. I mean, I think he's again. When other these older guys retire, Dak's a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't know why they're messing around with this. I know that Dak just signed his franchise tender, so he's going to be a Cowboy this upcoming season. But it's like just cut the bull and just sign him. Just sign him long term. Like what they waiting for?
And this is my thing. And just quick note: Dak had 4,902 passing yards last season.
Yeah,
very close. But this is I kind of understand why they haven't fully paid him yet. It's because Dak Prescott hasn't given them a reason to pay them. Why is Patrick Mahomes getting paid all this money? Because he just took in his second year, after breaking the record for touchdowns, after almost taking them to a Super Bowl, after winning the MVP, and now he just took them to a Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl MVP, which he shouldn't have won, but still won it. He's getting paid all this money.
Right.
In terms of postseason success, now you can be the best regular season quarterback. Whenever it comes to postseason, you just fail.
Right.
In terms of success, what has Dak Prescott done to deserve the money that he's asking for? And that's where my mindset is. And I think that this year is going to be a very important year in terms of Dak money. If the Cowboys either A, don't go to the playoffs, or B, go to the playoffs and lose in the first round or even the second round, I would say unless Dak Prescott takes them to the NFC Championship game or takes them to a Super Bowl or wins the Super Bowl, it would be very hard for me at least to be justified in giving Dak Prescott the money that he wants. And that's where my mind is with Dak Prescott. Now, in saying that, he's a tremendous quarterback, especially with the help that he's got around him. He's got one of the best O-lines. He's got a really good running back. Amari Cooper is no slouch. Plus, that defense is really, really good. He's got a team around him. It's not just an offense. He's got a team around him. So he's definitely got the tools to do it. And he definitely does do it. But when it comes down to the postseason, they really underperform.
I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you. If it was clearly Dak Prescott's fault that they weren't winning, the coach was like handcuffing him. It was so obvious that Jason Garrett was holding back the Cowboys that it was crazy. So if it was Dak was the reason why they were losing, I agree with that. I agree with that statement. But because Jason Garrett was like such a problem for them for their success, now that he's going, see now this year, if it's clearly that Mike McCarthy is a good coach, and if Dak Prescott doesn't make the plays, you're right. You're totally right about that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said this season is going to be very important for him to see. That's why I said at the end of this season, if he hasn't either taken him to an NFC Championship game or to the Super Bowl, I don't know how I'd feel about paying him that money.
Yeah, now that he signed the tender and the contract talk's not going to really happen until next season. Now, yeah, but before then, to me, the argument was that it's Jason Garrett's fault why they weren't good. So I would have, and so because of that, I would have given Dak what he wanted because I knew that Dak wasn't the problem, you know. But now that the contract talks will happen next season, your point is definitely valid because I think Mike McCarthy is the coach moving forward. Like in terms of long term, I think he will be there for a while. And if Dak has the season he had last year and they go to the playoffs and they win a couple of playoff games, I think you could definitely see him getting paid what he wants. Yeah. So Dak was ranked 8th on Chris Sims' list. Was ranked 8th. So one spot off. Not too bad. All right, number 6.
Number 6, another guy that I really like,
quarterback-wise in the league. I'm a little worried about him for this season, but that is Shaun Watson. Now, he's always been one of those quarterbacks that I've always liked. He can always take the game into his hands and win it. He's just one of those guys. He's got the ability to throw the ball from the pocket, but he can also get outside the pocket, throw it. He can get outside the pocket and throw it. You know, he's one of those really good guys. Now, why am I worried about him this season? Well, it's quite obvious. They just lost DeAndre Hopkins, you know. And I think DeAndre Hopkins was one of the big reasons why Deshaun Watson was really good, because he always had that consistent target of, okay, well, I can lob it up to DeAndre Hopkins and he'll probably catch it. And I think that the Texans are going to be good. Are they going to be as good as they were last season? Probably not. But I don't think that will be Deshaun Watson's fault at all. I think that he'll definitely have a really good season. You know, I think that his placement at 6 is well deserved right now. But I could see him taking a step back a little bit this season, but it won't necessarily be his fault.
Deshaun Watson, I'll compare him to Matthew Stafford in this regard. Deshaun Watson might be one of those quarterbacks where he might have to leave Houston in order for him to actually have actual success in terms of winning Super Bowls. Because Bill O'Brien, to me, I'm not gonna say he's a bad coach, but he's not a good GM. I don't understand why he's the GM of that team. He's trying to be Bill Belichick, and he's nowhere near Bill Belichick. Because trading DeAndre Hopkins to me was the most stupidest move this entire offseason. Actually, in the past couple of seasons, this was the stupidest move I've ever seen. Getting a better contract with David Johnson, he was probably washed up at this point. It's a bad move. But the Texans still have, they have Brandon Cooks they just got from LA. He's a really good receiver, I think still. Will Fuller's really good. They still have Kenny Stills. They have good receiving talent. But like you, I think Deshaun Watson might have have a worse year than he had last year. But I just harken back to that playoff game against the Bills, that play. Deshaun Watson makes those plays almost all the time. He's in terms of playmaking when a play breaks down, he's one of the best in the league. You can't deny it.
Yeah, that's why I said, Deshaun Watson can take the game to his hand and win it for
you. Even that first game last year against the Saints when they went into overtime, Deshaun Watson played really well in that game. Really well. So Deshaun Watson's a guy that, again, will be a top 5 quarterback. Some people might think he is already a top 5 quarterback. Who knows? He's up there. We have him at 6. So he's borderline top 5, And I just think for him to win a Super Bowl, he might have to leave Houston unless they get rid of Bill O'Brien, or at least don't make him a GM. Let him to stay a coach and maybe have someone else be a GM, and they can actually. I think their biggest flaw, honestly, is not going to be their offense. It's going to be their defense. I mean, J.J. Watt's really good still, really good. But who else do you have? Who else are you scared of on that Texans team? You just have to double J.J. Watt, and then, you know what I mean? Their defense is taking a big step down, especially after not having Clowney anymore. He's still a free agent. Who else on that defense are you really scared of? Because I'm not really scared of it. They don't scare me.
Nobody.
So they're gonna have I think Houston's gonna have a really trying year, but I think Deshaun Watson will still put up good numbers. I really do. So Chris Sims has him at 4. So Chris Sims thinks he's a top 5 quarterback, which I think is fair. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, of course, the guy that we have is 4. He put, not in the top 10. We had to make some room.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So number 5, a guy who I've been a big fan of ever since he came into the league. I was a big Packers fan. I still am a big Packers fan. But he's a guy that's kind of declining himself. Aaron Rodgers. He's still got a lot of good arm talent. He's still going to make plays. He's never always had the best offense around him, which is not his fault. But, I mean, you still have Aaron Jones as your running back, and you still have Devontae Adams. I mean, it's a pretty good wide receiver. So he does have a target to throw to. It's just, I don't know. Everyone's talking about him might be leaving Green Bay. Yeah, I can see that. Where? I don't know. But I think he's still good enough. I think he's still got 3 solid years of football left in terms of, high-level football. I think he's got maybe 2 or 3 years left of that before we can
I really think he's still got that too. And Aaron Rodgers, has been a really good quarterback. He's always been fun to watch. On a Green Bay Packers teams that always didn't necessarily have the best talent around him. So now I think he's got some really stellar talent with Devontae Adams, who some people argue is a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Though I'd put him more in top 5 and top 3. With Aaron Jones as well, who is also a good wide receiver, and a defense that's starting to get a little bit better than what it was. But the only thing that I have with Aaron Rodgers is, like you said, he's starting to look like he's declining, and I guess this is kind of goes along with the person that we have next, but it's kind of frustrating whenever you have Aaron Rodgers, a guy who has only won one Super Bowl. I think he's only won. Has he even won an MVP? Yeah. He's only won. And he puts up pretty stellar stats, but he's put up much higher than the next guy on the list. So Aaron Rodgers has kind of been there's kind of been a bad taste put in my mouth because of that.
Say this. I mean, don't want to give number 4 away right now, but I want to say compared to our number 4 guy, our number 4 guy is still really good because of the talent around him. I think if our number 4 guy plays anywhere else, maybe in Green Bay, is he as good as he will be where he's at now? So honestly, I think number 4 has had a lot of talent around him, especially the last couple of years. He's able to still play at a high level because he has such good talent around him that helps him be better. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that type of talent around him.
I think if our number 4 guy played in Green Bay, I think he would still be top 10 quarterback. Honestly.
Yeah, Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback still. You know what I mean? But my point is, how much better would he be?
Yeah, it's just frustrating whenever you have like the same amount of Super Bowl wins. Of course, one has MVP, but like the other guy puts up better stats. But then Aaron Rodgers is hailed as the better quarterback. It's just frustrating for me, at least for a fan of the guy at number 4.
Right.
Which, where did our good buddy Chris Sims have Aaron Rodgers?
Number 3. I mean, he's a top 5 guy still, but he's not top 3. Not now.
5. Top 3. Looking at our top 3, I don't know if I'd put Aaron Rodgers over any of those guys right now.
All right. Well, since we kind of mentioned the number 4, we got a number 4, buddy.
Well, we've got New Orleans hometown hero Drew Brees, of course. Now, of course, we're not going to do injustice to Drew Brees by putting him at 16.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. In fact, he's at 16 is the whole reason why this list is even happening.
Yeah.
In the first. But why is Drew Brees still a top tier quarterback? Well, let's look at it this way. Last year, how many games did he miss? He missed 5 games, or was it 6 games? 5 games that he missed, and he still had a really good completion percentage. Still had really good yards. Still had really good stats. And yes, I know you want to mention the offensive line is really, really good. The wide receiving core is good. Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray. I get that. But you need, Drew Brees is still putting up these insane stats. If you're a trash quarterback and you have a guy like Michael Thomas, if you can't get the ball to Michael Thomas, what's the point of having Michael Thomas?
Right.
Wide receiver. And Drew Brees, the fact that he is the only guy, I think, so far to have multiple 5,000-yard seasons. The only guy in NFL history. And it's not like he has 2. I think he has 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The fact that he always shatters his own completion percentage record. It seems like every single year it just keeps getting better and better. I mean, who knows? I mean, what is that, like 77, 78% right now? Almost.
That's the best in history.
Ridiculous. And he does that consistently every season. And you're going to tell me that right now he is the 16th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. The biggest knock the most consistent knock I've heard on Drew Brees now is that he doesn't have the deep ball anymore. But it's like, you don't always need the deep ball to be a good quarterback. Michael Thomas runs those 15-yard routes. Those rack up, yeah. I mean,
listen,
Michael Thomas, good as he is.
I'll tell you what. Let's say it's first down and you're on the 20, right? And for all 4 plays, you take 50-yard bombs. And it's only on 4th down that you get that 50-yard bomb. Instead of doing that, 1st and 10, you run a 15-yard slant, caught. You do that for 4 plays. Guess what? At the end of those 4 plays, who's going to be in better field position? The person who took the 50-yard bombs or the person who took the 4 15-yard slants?
Slants. I take slants.
Slants.
My favorite round in NFL, slants.
Because the 15 yards times 4, that's 60 yards. So now you're already 10 yards better than the person who threw 50-yard bombs 4 times and missed 3 times, hit it 1 time.
And I think Drew Brees can throw the deep ball. Now that you have Emmanuel Sanders, the biggest thing I've always pointed is that they never never had a number 2 receiver really these last couple of years. So there's really no one because Michael Thomas is not a deep threat wide receiver. He's really not. So you never really had a deep threat. You had Emmanuel Sanders, who is a deep threat. Drew Brees might throw it deep this year, and they might open it up a little bit more. But Drew Brees is the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. To me, he's the best to ever play the game, just in terms of his statistics and the way he plays. He's the best of all time. Tom Brady is not doing what Drew Brees is doing in terms of completion percentage. It's ridiculous.
Not even close. I think, and me personally, this is how I rank quarterbacks. I think in terms of awards and success, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in NFL history.
Right.
But in terms of pure talent and statistics, it's Drew Brees.
It's criminal that Drew Brees doesn't have at least one MVP.
Yeah.
Not one.
Especially
that is
ridiculous. Matt Ryan, but the fact that Matt Ryan and Cam Newton have an MVP and Drew Brees does not. It's ridiculous. He should have won in the 2009 season, and he should have won in the 2011 season. At least one of those.
I think Aaron Rodgers won in 2011, I believe. And that season, Drew Brees had more yards than Aaron Rodgers. I think he had more touchdowns, too, than Aaron Rodgers. But because Aaron Rodgers, I think, was on a better team. I think that was one of the seasons that the Saints were 7-9 or 10-6 or something. They weren't as good.
I think they were either 10-6 or 11-5, and the Green Bay Packers did win the Super Bowl that year. But, come on.
Drew Brees is so vastly, underappreciated and disrespected just among all analysts. This dude is, and remember, was it last season they did the top 100 players or something of all time or something, and they did top 10 quarterbacks, and Drew Brees wasn't even on the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. They had some lists I never even heard of.
I know guys like Otto Graham and Johnny Unitas in there, but come on, man, Drew Brees on that list.
Put Drew Brees on that list, man. Jesus Christ, he's top 5 quarterback all time, if not top 3 all time. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen. There'll never be another Drew Brees Patrick Mahomes might end up being the best quarterback of all time, but in terms of the accuracy, I don't see a quarterback being as accurate as Drew Brees will ever be. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not even close. Not even close.
And Chris Sims is one of those guys that don't appreciate Drew Brees. Had him at 16. Go to hell, Chris Sims.
No. For reference, guess this is who we have at 16. Jimmy Garoppolo. Who do you think deserves the 15 spot? Drew Brees or Jimmy Garoppolo? Tell me. You tell me. Tell me in the comments if you think that Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Drew Brees. And if you are, you're a fraud.
He put Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Cam Newton over Drew Brees.
Ridiculous.
They put Big Ben over Drew Brees, which, I love Big Ben, but he doesn't have the stats as Drew Brees does.
Ridiculous.
It's criminal. The disrespect for Drew Brees is criminal.
We're going to charge everybody in the media.
This is why we need to climb up this media ladder. We need to be up at the top to tell the truth here. Because look, I can't wrap my brain around it. I really can't.
If there's one thing that you can come to expect from Sportschat with DJ Matt, we speak facts over here. Straight facts.
And which quarterback in NFL history has had the most impact on the city, by the way? Name a quarterback that has more impact on the city than Drew Brees has. Name one. Because I can't. Drew Brees might be the most important player in football history. Most important in terms of impact.
Yeah. Hands down.
Because I watched it was something on NFL Network, the what ifs of what if this happened instead of this. So the episode was, what if Drew Brees went to Miami?
Yeah.
And you were talking about how the Saints could have drafted Vince Young that year instead of Reggie Bush.
Right.
But still wouldn't have been as good. And they could have moved. The Saints could have moved. If they were bad, they would have moved to LA or San Antonio.
Yeah, they probably would have moved.
Save the Saints.
Arena.
So put some respect on that dude's name. He saved the franchise, man.
Go to number 3. We're done with this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, number 3. Russell Wilson, who I really like. I love Russell Wilson. He is a guy that is consistent. He makes plays with his legs and his arm. Seattle has always been, the last 10 years, or in a decade, it's been one of the best teams in the league. Just consistency. And he's a guy that is about the same height as Drew Brees, so a shorter quarterback. And he's really good. He has pretty good accuracy numbers, doesn't too many turnovers, makes plays. Seattle's always a threat, I think, to win a Super Bowl. They're good, and Russell Wilson's a big part of that.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, like I've always thought about this, and his wide receiving core has never been ridiculous. Like he's never had a top tier wide receiving core, and yet he still goes out there and makes ridiculous plays. Brings Seattle to the playoffs, brings them to the Super Bowl, wins championships.
Yes.
And I think now, because in the past you could have looked at the Seattle Seahawks and said, okay, the reason why they're in the Super Bowl is because of the Legion of Boom. You could have said that. But now there's no Legion of Boom there. They're all gone. And they're still going to the playoffs. They're so successful. So why is that? Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. MVP candidate last year, too.
He'll probably be an MVP candidate again this year.
He might win.
Hell,
it.
he could probably win it.
Yeah. I love Russell Wilson. I love the way he plays. He's a guy that he you would think a guy like him would be cocky. Like the way he plays, like kind of like a Cam Newton. Cam Newton's cocky. He really is. But like he kind of plays in that type of style, but he's not a cocky guy. He's like a humble guy, and like you can see it. And he's one of the probably like Drew Brees, one of the nicest guys in the league. Honestly, like everyone likes him. Name a guy that dislikes Russell Wilson? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, Russell Wilson is one of those guys that I had in fantasy last year. Russell Wilson. I mean, he gets you a lot of points because he runs the ball and he throws it, and he's a playmaker. That's what he does. And
yeah.
I think if it wasn't for Mahomes and another guy, Jackson, Russell Wilson would probably be the best in the league.
Yeah.
He's number 3 on our list, but like he's clearly, he's amazing. Future Hall of Famer, definitely too. I would say at this point.
Where's our buddy who got Russell Wilson?
Number 2. You got him at number 2.
Hey, all right, Wilson. All right, I see you, boy.
All right. So number two,
a guy who has taken the league by storm. MVP last year. That's Lamar Jackson. Going to be on the cover of Madden. So he's probably up the season at like the 34th best starting quarterback because that's how the Madden course works. But anyway, I digress. He's one of those guys that I think that, of course, he can always improve on his throwing ability, but I think the appeal of Lamar Jackson is not his throwing ability. It's definitely those legs of his. But don't get it twisted. Lamar Jackson can throw the ball on you. If you want to contain him, he'll still throw the ball on you. And that's what's so good about Lamar Jackson is because I said this. I said the best way that you have to have a stellar defense to shut down Lamar Jackson. Their main priority is going to be containing him to the pocket. You have to keep him in the pocket. You can't let him get out of the pocket because he gets out of the pocket, you're done. It's over with. But if you can keep him in the pocket, and then on top of that, had some good corners and safeties, and maybe a good middle linebacker because to cover those tight ends and then cover the wide receivers, you can contain Lamar Jackson. But that's asking a lot from a defense.
The spy plays that the defense runs where a guy kind of just watches the quarterback? You have to have a guy like doing that the whole game. He's the only quarterback I can think of. Maybe Russell Wilson is another guy maybe for that. But you have to have a spy like every single play because he has the threat to run it every single play. Yeah,
you don't have a spy, he's taking off.
Yeah, I think he's the most hardest quarterback probably to defend against. Honestly, just the way he plays, it's a difficult style to defend. I don't know if you watched First Take today. I don't know. I did.
I don't watch ESPN anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The NFL executives and like scouts and stuff, they made their own quarterback list that came out, and I believe they had, I don't remember. I think Lamar Jackson was like 7 or something or 6, and Aaron Rodgers I think was 5. Like we have him. And the argument I think was of like who would you rather have, Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson? And Stephen A. is Aaron Rodgers to the day he dies, and Max Kellerman was on Stephen A.'s side on this one, but Marcus Spears chose Lamar Jackson, and I kind of agreed with him. It's like, who would you want right now? Which quarterback out of Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson right now? Who would you take? I would take Lamar Jackson just because his upside.
Lamar Jackson. And I think the problem it's like they I remember they did a draft. It was like if you redraft the entire, who would you pick first? And it wasn't First Take, but some of the people were saying Tom Brady. and I forget who it was, but he was like, "Are you guys stupid? Like, you would take Patrick Mahomes right now if you could take anybody. And if I was given the choice right now, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, I'm taking Lamar Jackson. Now, if we're talking about career, Aaron Rodgers.
If we're going yeah.
If we get to pick what version, like if we get to pick what version, I'm taking the 2011 Aaron Rodgers. But I don't get that. I have to get the 2020 Aaron Rodgers. So I'm taking the 2020 Lamar Jackson. Not even close.
Yeah, hands down. And they were talking about how, like, oh, well, he didn't win in the playoffs yet, and all this stuff. Like, he only had 2 playoff games. Like, he's only in his second year.
Yeah,
playoff, man.
I mean, playoff games are, not easy.
Yeah, and I think Lamar Jackson, Baltimore lost. I mean, that defense couldn't stop Derrick Henry. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, straight up, yeah.
So, I mean, look, Baltimore to me, I mean, everyone's really high on Kansas City, especially now. But I think Baltimore, I'd say they might be – I see them in the Super Bowl this year, honestly. I can definitely see it. Like, so, Lamar Jackson's number 2. Chris Sims has him at 5. He has the Shaun Watson over him and Aaron Rodgers over him and Wilson over him, which it's not criminal. It's not criminal, but yeah. So number 1, everyone. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is number 1. There's no debate about this. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. There's no debate.
As much as we say it, he is the number 1 quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah. And the Chiefs, they give him that 10-year deal, basically a 12-year deal. The Chiefs want a dynasty, man. They see a dynasty in their eyes, and I think they might get it. I could see Patrick Mahomes having more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. I really do.
Yeah,
I can see him being dope easily.
It'll take a little while, of course. But yeah. Patrick Mahomes, does he deserve all the money? I don't know, but he definitely deserves to. I think he deserves to be the highest paid quarterback right now, if not in history. He definitely deserves that. I don't know if he deserves $500 million, but he definitely deserves a lot of money. And I don't want to hear no complaining now for Patrick Mahomes because, like,
Well, for him, he just wanted Mahomes because Mahomes just had 2 years left on his rookie deal. So Mahomes just wanted stability in the fact that, okay, am I your guy now? Like, are we gonna be able to coexist now? You know what I'm saying? Like, he wanted the fact that the organization, instead of waiting till his contract was up, the fact that the organization took now to say, hey, let's give you the deal, let's get it done. We have you locked up. We're putting all our chips on the table for you. Our team's gonna be really good, at least for the next 3 or 4 years. The Chiefs will be a really good team still. You know what I mean? And depending, again, like you said, maybe paying players like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in that regard. That we'll get there when we get there. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I guess their mentality is. And the deal is going to be reworked a couple of times too. Like, you know what I mean? But I think the deal that he got is definitely warranted. And I see Mahomes. I mean, I've never seen a quarterback like this before. And like, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, and I think what he's doing right now is they're playing. They're trying to blitz the league right now. I think that they're trying to win. I think they're trying to win 3 Super Bowls in the next 4 years if they can. Like that's like the minimum is like, yeah, over the next 4 years we want 3 Super Bowls. Like I think that's where they're at right now. They're like, we're gonna, and they have to, because 5-6 years down the road they're not gonna have the cap space to be signing all these people that they got right now. They're gonna have to let some people go. So I understand it. Like I said, I think Patrick Mahomes deserves the contract. I don't know if he necessarily deserves all of how much it is worth. That's just my opinion. The only bad thing that I feel about Patrick Mahomes is how much the media likes to talk about him. He's basically the LeBron James of football, and it gets quite frustrating whenever. I mean, for me personally, whenever you're a fan of a guy who gets criminally underrated by them, and then here comes a guy who's only been a starter for 2 years, and we're already worshiping the ground he walks on. So, but I mean, if there was a guy that the media was to worship the ground he walks on, I guess I'm okay with it being Patrick Mahomes. But
yeah, I mean, I love Patrick Mahomes. I really do. I mean, if he ends up becoming the GOAT, not just if, I don't know if he will, but if they end up having that dynasty, eclipsing the Patriots, I'm okay with that. Because you know why? Because the reason why I think everyone dislikes the Patriots, not only because they win, because they've been caught cheating. That's a big part of it too. People don't trust the Patriots franchise because they're cheating. So the Chiefs are a franchise that has not been known to cheat. With Andy Reid there, Andy Reid's not a cheater. Like, you know what I mean? So if the Chiefs do it the right way, The Patriots didn't do it.
But I can tell you what, if the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl like every year,
Wait, we're gonna get tired of them. Yeah, that's a given. But for now, it's not. We're not tired of them. They're the hottest thing in
yeah,
football.
no, they definitely won't be as disliked as the Patriots are. But the Patriots are so disliked just because of how often you see them in the playoffs, in the championships games, in the Super Bowl. It's like, God, I'm just so tired of seeing the Patriots. I wish I would see another team, you know?
And it's the way they run the organization in terms of like they're the most, to me, they're the most distant organization because they never talk. They never seem to be doing things like other teams. You can see them talking and like being relatable, I guess. The Patriots are the most unrelatable thing in football. Like you can't relate to this. You can't relate to Bill Belichick because he talks like this and I don't want to talk about football. You know what I mean? Like how are you supposed to relate to that? How are you supposed to like that? You know what I mean? Unless you're from Boston.
I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, I mean, you probably love it, but
that's what I'm saying. If you're from Boston, yeah, you love it all the way. It's like these other franchises, they're more likable. They're just more likable. The way they run and the way they do things, it's not as uptight.
But I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a team that you can't necessarily relate for, but every year you've got somebody to root for in January and February, or are you looking for a team that you can relate to, but come January and February, you know, they're sitting on the couch with you. You know, what do you want more as a fan?
I don't know. I feel like I hate myself for liking the Patriots. Like after, like, at what cost though? At what cost?
All right. So you'd rather the Saints be a team like the Patriots where you feel like you can't relate to them, but they're in the Super Bowl every year, or would you rather them be like they are now, to where like you can relate to them, but come January, February, they're, you know, sitting on the couch with you?
I mean, it's different because that's the hometown team. I'm talking about teams that other than the hometown. Hometown team doesn't count. Like we were supposed to root for them. Like
okay, the Colts then. The Colts.
That's the reason why I like the Colts, because they're a likable team. They're not a team that's
all right. So that's what you value. You value a likable team over championships.
Colts don't win every year. They haven't won a Super Bowl since Peyton Manning days. You know what I mean? They've had a lot of down years in the last couple of years, but I still like them because they're likable and I root for them. You know, same thing with the what's the team I'm thinking of? Like the Packers. Packers have not been that good, honestly, and I still like them. They're likable. You're looking at the other team, the Giants, another team I like a lot, and their owner is really not their owner. The GM is really bad, and I don't like the coaching staff. But I still like them. They're likable teams. Saquon's a likable star. You know, I like the teams that I can relate to and like. They're fun. You know what I mean? I don't like the Patriots are just uptight, and I don't like uptight. You know what I mean? Let loose a little bit. You know, that's all I ask. Like with Arizona, right? They're not an uptight team. They're a really likable team. Kyler Murray's really likable. You know what I mean? That's my whole point. Whether or not they win or lose, they're likable.
All right. So that is the list of starters 33 through 1.
That's right. The real list. The real list. You can't find a better list.
Backups, yay or nay?
Yay, we'll do backups next week.
All right. We'll kind of quick fire this one though, since I already know that this episode is really long.
Really long. I'm sorry, guys, that it's long, but you know it had to be this way.
Yeah, there was no choice. We just did the 5 backups. I'll take this one real quick. Number 5, we got Justin Herbert. We don't know whether or not he's going to be the starter. So again, we just went with them as the backup. So honestly, I think that he's good, but in terms of talent, he's underneath number 4, who's also a rookie. You can go with number 4.
Tua. Tua's number 4. Tua's got a lot of upside. I'm not as concerned about his health as other people are, but I think he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to be good. He's not going to start this year. I think it's Fitzpatrick's job. Unless they really start to suck, they might put in Tua. But I say you can keep Tua out for this year, but he's definitely best backup if they needed him.
Yeah. Getting off the rookies train, number 3, we've got our boy Jameis Winston, the backup. I do think that if Drew once again goes down like he did last season, I think that Jameis will be the one to step in, especially since he's on a 1-year deal. And I think if we look at some preseason, if we look at some of the stuff, if he plays good, you know, he could be our guy going forward, which would suck for Taysom, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Number 2, we got Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, now in Dallas. I think he was really brought in case the Dak deal didn't work out or something. He was like their guy. But if Dak does go down, he definitely can step in and bring them to. Like I said before, my hot take was that no matter who's the quarterback, whether it's Dalton or Dak Prescott, I think they make the playoffs, no matter who the quarterback is.
Yes, and number 1, we've got Nick Foles, Super Bowl winner himself. I truly do think that Nick Foles at some point is going to start for the Bears this season. Just right now, we don't know. But I truly do think that he's better than Mitchell Trubisky. And honestly, if I was to put him somewhere on this list, I would put him in the lower 20s, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
Like 26, 27 is around where I would put him at.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you, especially since the Mahomes deal went down. I really do feel bad for Chicago. What they could have had. What they
should have had. I mean, hell, they could have also had Deshaun Watson. If you didn't want Patrick Mahomes, you could have had Deshaun Watson. But
dude, imagine Patrick Mahomes. Like, I know the offense is not as good as the Chiefs' offense, but like just with that defense, they're the best team in the NFC North if they had Mahomes.
Yep.
I mean, Bears fans are kicking themselves. I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad for them. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's going to do it for today's episode. It's long enough.
Yeah.
Next week will probably be definitely a shorter video. Now that we'll probably talk news. We'll talk about the Orlando bubble probably next week. Stuff about that. MLS is kicking off, I think, tonight. The MLS is finally kicking off. So we'll have some stuff to talk about next week. So thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, comment. Follow us on Instagram at Sportschat with DJ Matt 1. For DJ Echo, I'm DJ Matt. The list will be posted probably next week. If you want to look at it, or if you just want to watch the video again, go for it. But so yeah, that's gonna do it for us today. Thank you guys as always, and stay safe.
Peace.